Hi there, it's Carl Allen. Good morning from Australia. It's 8 a.m. here, local time, Friday morning. I'm down in Brisbane. It's the 28th of June 2019. I'm down here on business and I'm visiting my family. And from some of you, I know it's still Thursday. It's 6 p.m. on the East Coast in the US. It's 3 p.m. if you're in the Pacific time zone. Gosh, it's a bit later. It's 11 p.m. if you're in the UK. But wherever you are, a very, very warm welcome from me for today's masterclass training. Now, I'm really glad that you've made it today because today I get to take you behind the curtain on my 26-year deal-making career. And I'm going to share my trade secrets with you that if you implement what I'm going to teach you today, it will make you literally millions of dollars. Now, that's a very big promise, but I know that I'm going to deliver for you today with all that I've learned over the past 26 years in this business. Now, I've put together some slides because I want to walk you through my process step by step. So I'm going to switch to slides now so you can see how all this works, but I promise I'll come back to camera before the end of the training. So today's training is going to do exactly what it says on the tin. What are the best 5 cash flowing business types for you to buy and own in 2019, all without investing your own money, not having to operate those businesses if you don't want to, and all within 99 days. So let's do this. So this training today is definitely for you if you'd like to own one or more profitable business assets that generate cash flow for you while you sleep. And it's definitely for you if you want to build a retirement nest egg and eliminate the risk of retiring poor and frustrated. And you want to do this without either investing your own cash or having to operate the business because you don't want to or know how to. And this training is absolutely for you if you want to do this without quitting a job, neglecting your family, or anything else in your life. You can implement what I teach you today in as little as 4 to 6 hours per week. And there's no risk in this process. It just takes time, work, and focus, definitely not capital. But there's one small catch. I need you to act on what I teach you today, because if you don't, guess what? You're going to be in the same situation tomorrow that you are today. So execution trumps knowledge 100% of the time. So what I teach you today, I want you to go away and I want you to implement this. Because wouldn't you agree, if I'm going to show you how in 99 days you can buy and own a small profitable business without any personal cash or any knowledge of how to run a business, it would make sense to act immediately, wouldn't it? Absolutely. Okay, so today what I'm going to share with you is that there are over 2.6 million small businesses for sale today in the UK, USA, Canada, and Australia, where I guess most of you are from, but only 1 in 13 are going to sell in the next 12 months. So today's training is what we do with the other 12 out of 13 businesses. And in 90 minutes, you'll know which of those businesses to avoid like the plague, the best 5 types of businesses to buy and own in 2019, how you actually go about buying and owning one without investing your own money, and having someone else operate that business for you if you want. And I'm going to go through this really quickly. There's a lot to cover, so please do take notes, but stay with me until the end, and I will give you both a copy of these slides and also a free copy of my book, The Business Giveaway. There'll be a link for both of those tools at the end. And also, just make one small commitment for me. Just turn off anything that's going to disturb you, like Facebook, your phone, so I can really teach you this amazing skill set. So before we start the training, let me explain quickly who I am. So as I said, my name's Carl Allen. I started my deal-making career way back in 1992 when I went to work for Bank of America on Wall Street. So I was doing M&A for very large companies, and I also worked in private equity and corporate America at the IT giant HP, buying and selling businesses for them until going out on my own in 2008. And in the past 26 years, I've done tons of deals, over 300 and counting, totaling $53 billion across 17 different countries and in virtually every business sector. So Robert Kiyosaki, who's the author of my favorite business book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, last year called me the rich dad of buying businesses. And I also mentor some of my own personal gurus, like Michael Gerber, the author of The E-Myth. So I really do know how to buy small business. I'm one of the premier experts in the world on this process. So that's enough about me. Now let's talk about you. Why are you watching this training? So I'm guessing you're in one of 6 places right now. So you may be working for someone else, trapped in a job, and you want the freedom and lifestyle of owning a small business, but you don't know how to buy one. You may own a business already that you started years ago and you want to scale it really quickly by acquiring another business into it. You may be a consultant who is fixing other people's businesses for fees, but you want to buy and fix businesses instead to explode your wealth. Or you may be considering starting a brand new business and you're deathly afraid of the risks of doing so, and I don't blame you. Or you may be considering buying a franchise, which is a terrible mistake for reasons that I will cover later. Or you may just want the ultimate side hustle. You like what you do now, but you need to make more money, and owning cash flowing businesses on the side that you don't need to operate is something that you want to happen. And let me tell you, you're only one deal away from the freedom, the pride, the work-life balance, and the cash flow that buying and owning a small, profitable business will give you. Like Michael Nguyen, one of my students who just acquired an IT business. More on Michael later. So I'm going to structure this training pretty much around the 3 questions that I'm always asked when I keynote at conferences, I go on podcasts, and I'm in interviews. And all 3 are actually myths. The first is that people believe that all businesses for sale are bad businesses. And yeah, some are. You need to avoid them like the plague. And I'll tell you what they are later. But some businesses are amazing. And I will tell you the best 5 types of businesses to buy, especially in 2019. Myth number 2 is that you need personal cash to buy a business. Let me tell you, you do not, and you will understand why in about 17 minutes. And finally, myth number 3, you don't have to run the business that you own. I'll show you that you can have other people operate those businesses for you. Warren Buffett owns lots of businesses, but he doesn't run any of them, and neither does Tony Robbins run any of his 54 businesses. He's too busy doing live events. I will show you how I and they become owner investors, not owner operators. So pulling all this together, I'm going to teach you 5 things today. First, I'll give you a primer on the business buying market and the unique mechanism that we use, which is called the LBO, or the leveraged buyout. Then I'll show you how to buy a small business using OPM, which stands for other people's money, including lots of case studies, before showing you which 5 businesses you should never buy and which 5 businesses that you should, before wrapping up with how to be an owner investor rather than an owner operator and have other people operate those businesses together with the steps to implement this training going forward. And please use the chat box for any questions you have during the masterclass. We'll have about 15 minutes time for Q&A at the end. So I'm ready. Are you? Let's do this. So let me introduce you to this business model. Now, we're in the business of something called LBOs, leverage buyouts, which is essentially buying a business using other people's money, OPM. So the money that we use to buy these businesses comes from 3 places. First, it comes from the seller, which is called seller financing, or simply buying the business over time from the cash flow or the profit that the business generates. It's like a lease to own structure in real estate, if you're familiar with real estate investing. Now, if the seller wants a closing payment, and all this will become very clear shortly, we use debt financing using the assets or the cash flows, or we can sell a piece of the deal to another investor. And I'm going to go through loads of examples and case studies just to show you exactly how this works. And the market, my friends, is absolutely huge. So across the UK, USA, Canada, and Australia, there's over 36 million small businesses, up to $5 million in annual revenues, and almost 2.9 million of them are for sale right now. Now, the problem, however, is only 1 in 13 on average are going to sell in the next 12 months. So the 2.66 million businesses that are left unsold, that's what today's training is all about, how we actually find those businesses and buy them. And this may surprise you. 90% of this game is about psychology and not numbers. Back on Wall Street, the billion-dollar deals that I used to work on were all 90% numbers. It was all about financial engineering. But down in the small business trenches, this game is all about psychology. Let me explain. So take two identical businesses, same products and services, same customers, same revenues, same profits, same employees, they're even in the same building. The only difference in those two businesses is the owner, and more specifically, what's going on emotionally and psychologically for them. So take the seller on the left, young, entrepreneur, happy, having fun. Now every business is for sale, it's just a question of price. But businesses sell for a multiple of profit, more on that shortly. So a premium valuation would be, say, a 5 times multiple for a small business. And the entrepreneur on the left, yeah, he'll sell if the price is right, but he's going to want, say, a 5 times multiple, and he's going to want the vast majority of his money at closing. Now, that's not our ideal seller. What we want is the guy on the right, the seller on the right, burnt out, wants to retire or do something else. He's run out of ideas. He's distressed even. He's not having fun. That's our seller. The business is still strong, but he is not. He's going to sell for 2x to 3x profit, but more importantly, he's only going to want a fraction of the deal at closing, sometimes nothing at all. So when we do deals like this, we structure them using 3 components. So first is we take on any existing debt that's in the business. Sometimes that's enough to buy it. If not, we can pay money over time using the business's cash flow. That's the seller financing. It's effectively a profit share between you and the previous owner over a certain number of years. And if necessary, we can always use the assets in the business or the cash flows it generates to raise financing for a closing payment. And then once you own the business, you can make money from that deal in 3 ways. So the first is if you raise more money than you need to pay out at closing, that surplus cash become yours. And also, as the new owner of the business, the monthly cash flow is also yours, less what you need to service the deal. But the big payday comes when you grow and sell the business in the future, after you have grown it and you've optimized it. So next, let's look at what makes the perfect LBO deal, and it all starts with you. With so many deals out there, you can afford to be highly selective. So you want to do deals, at least initially, in sectors that you know and are passionate about, where you can leverage your skills and in locations that are going to serve you. So do deals that are going to light you up and serve you in your life. So for example, if you work in IT, go buy a small IT business. Don't buy a motel or a coffee shop. Those are actually 2 of my worst businesses to buy, which we'll get to that shortly. Next, number 2, it's all about the seller. Remember the 2 types of seller. We want sellers with a high motivation to leave a good business. We want a distressed seller of a good business. You'll know what a good business looks like shortly. And here's what distress looks like. The seller may want to retire. He or she may be sick, or even dying in some cases, and not just them, it could be a family member, so they want to go and care for them, and the business then becomes a really big distraction. The seller could just be burnt out, tired, really frustrated in life. You know, we've all been there, haven't we? And the other issue is they might not have an exit strategy. There might be no succession plan for them in that business. 20 years ago, businesses were typically handed down from father to son, from mother to daughter, but it's very rare today. Kids generally want to go to college. They don't want to take over the family business. And most sellers actually don't want to sell to a competitor, which is what we call a trade buyer, who will most likely rip it apart, even damage the business when pretending to buy it, getting customer and employee data with no intention of ever buying that business. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. It happens. So small business sellers, they're very risk averse when it comes to listing a business for sale, because they value the legacy of their business and the safeguarding of their employees much more than they value cash from the deal in most cases. And here's a survey I did a few years back just to back this up. I polled almost 2,000 sellers of small businesses, and what they told me absolutely blew my mind. 79% of them valued other things upon selling a business versus cash: retirement, safeguarding employees, their legacy, having a safe pair of hands to take the business on. That's why it's so important, at least in your first few deals, to buy businesses in sectors that you know. And I don't want you to think that tired, distressed sellers are old and grey. They can be very, very young as well. Like Simon Cohen, a UK entrepreneur. He built an amazing PR business called Global Torrents, but completely burnt himself out. He missed his family. So he literally gave 95% of the business away for absolutely nothing. Just gave it away. He actually launched a social media campaign to find the new rightful owner. As did Michael Lee from the USA. He did exactly the same thing. He sold his business, Print Squares, for $1. It was a great business. That's him on the right with the new owner on the left. You can understand why the buyer